Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Addis Dialogue. With the program, I'm Shifara and Francesca Ronchin has come all the way from Italy to personally witness what is going on here in Ethiopia by traveling to different parts of the country. And she's my guest today in this edition of Addis Dialogue. Do stay with us. Francesca, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, so you've traveled to different parts of Ethiopia, I think. So let me ask you first this question. What's the purpose of your visit to Ethiopia? Let's start with this.
Okay, well, after having covered Ethiopia and especially the Tigray crisis over the last year and a half, I've covered that from far, of course, from Italy. I really wanted to have the chance to come here and see the things on the ground and filming them because my purpose is working on an in-depth reportage, a video reportage exactly about what is going on here, and in particular about all the disinformation that has been carried out against Ethiopia. Because of course we have all seen how many fake news or different narratives have been carried out against Ethiopia. So I really wanted to see how things are and come here on the ground in order to do interviews, visiting different places, and to work on this reportage that, of course, I'll be editing when I'll be in Italy.
Previously, you have been covering issues in Ethiopia at a distance from Italy, right? Yes. Now you've personally come here and seen things unfolding in Ethiopia. So what are some of the areas that you saw?
First of all, I didn't have the chance to stay as long as I would because Ethiopia is a big country. There are many things to see, also work-wise, of course. I wish I could stay more. So in this little time I had the chance to stay here. I managed to stay in Addis Ababa, of course. I had the chance to do some interviews here with some officials, some authorities here. And then I moved to Afar region to Semera, and then I moved to Amhara region. I went to Debraha, exactly, where there is an IDP camp. And then I moved up north to Bahir Dar, and then from there to this other area, Nefas Beucha, and so other areas around that has been affected by the war. So for now, more or less, these have been my travel, my journey here.
Yeah. So at least you've covered two regions, right? Afar region,
yes.
Yeah, and Amhara region. So what's and Oromia, of course, yeah. So what's the living conditions of the people, especially? Let me come first to the state of Amhara. So as you saw there, what's the living condition of the people in the state of Amhara? In the aftermath of the large-scale destructions caused by the TPLF?
Okay. Well, of course, some areas so far have been reconstructed because especially in the farming areas where there are all these farms. So I've seen how they had the chance to reconstruct the houses, put in new roofs, and you can, of course, see, the old part of the house and the new one. Okay, so of course now some months have passed and they've been able to reconstruct something. But the most critical thing, I think, that is regarding the health facilities and the hospitals, because they've been looted, destroyed, and this is really bad because they have not been reconstructed so far. And so you see these people that are working and they're putting a lot of efforts with what we have, but they are not able to meet the need of the population around because their hospitals are working like 50%, if not less. No? So this is really bad. And also they are, I had the chance to see how, in a way, disappointed they are by the fact that they are not receiving so much attention compared to other regions or to other areas of the country. Because also from the international community or the international organization, they are not receiving much help. I have been told that they are receiving some help from Red Cross, also from WHO, but not so much. Compared to the total of the needs, I think less than 10% is covered. So for them it's really difficult to work in these conditions. So I think that health facilities is really painful to see how bad are their conditions.
Same story when it comes to the state of Afar, right? Yeah. So this is the rainy season, and how are the people in the state of Afar also coping with such issues? This is a rainy season, and there is also this destruction, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, also especially in Afar region, there is a big drought now, so they also have this big problem. So they also claiming, they're also underlining how little help they are also receiving. But I think it's true in a way because, if I'm not wrong, to Tigray, I think that at least 96% organization are putting efforts there, which is a big number. But I think that the number of the organizations that are involved to this other region, bringing help to this other region, like Amhara and Afar, are really a smaller number. So, of course, the people there is coping, from what I have seen, they are really, they have many difficulties in coping with the needs that they have. Yeah. And also because not just of the war, but the drought is a big problem now. And so there is not just the war, right? So many issues there.
Yeah. So in general, what are some of the sad things that you had to witness in the state of Amhara and in the state of Afar as well?
Okay. Well, in Afar region, talking about the sad thing, I can think of these child soldiers that I had the chance to meet in this hospital, which is in Dupti area, which is very close to Semera. I met some girls and some boys, very young, of course, and it was really appealing to see in what condition they are and how they've been brought to war by force. So their story was really touching, and so they explained all the system, the way they were being forced to fight. Every family had at least to provide one soldier, to TPLF, and so that was really, really sad to observe. And then others, talking about the sad things, of course, as you asked, I also had the chance to meet some raped women in Amhara region, because of course, as we know, as it has been reported by many organizations and also by the Ethiopian government, especially also the Joint Commission on Human Rights there. Many women have been systematically raped, and so also their story were really, really touching because it's just because it's like they are suffering twice, right? Because they've been involved in the war, they've been their life has been devastated by all these violences, and now they are living also the stigma of having been raped. So it's like they are suffering twice, even more than that.
Yeah. So talking about those child soldiers, do they come from the state of Tigray, and were they forced to join the TPLF army?
Yeah. From what they told me, from according to their story, they all came from Mekelle and Mekelle area, and they have been forced to fight because they didn't have any other chance. Otherwise, their parents they might go to prison, or they might have not received some aid or some of the services. So, of course, it's really sad. And then I asked them, what did they tell you to do? Did you receive a training? They told me that they received 1 month's training, more or less. Some of them got some weapons, others they were with no weapons at all. And I asked them, what did they tell you to do? What is TPLF or TDF leader told you to do? And they said, you just have to go there, open the road, and fight against the Ethiopian government. So these were the guidelines that they received, and just go there. I mean,
Thank you, Francesca, for that piece of information. So maybe did you also have the chance to interview other segments of the society? And if so, what did they tell you?
well, I mean, for me also was interesting to, when I was in Semera, to see the UN aid compound, the humanitarian aid compound, sorry, because I wanted to see how this aid flow is working actually, and I had the chance also to speak with some of the World Food Program officials, and they also told me that I asked them, so, I mean, out of curiosity, after 1 year and a half, we heard about this blockade being put on by the government. Was the blockade there or not? And they told me, oh no, I mean, there was no blockade by the government. Of course, there were some problems on the ground, maybe because the rebels were, especially from last December to April, when the TPLF invaded the Amhara region, the Afar region, so there were all the fighting. So, of course, the aid, the trucks found difficulties in getting there, but there was no blockade at all. And actually now I had the chance to see a lot of trucks going to Tigray. I think that every week there are 3 convoys normally going, and that's been going on for months so far. So.
Okay, so did you personally witness that humanitarian aids are flowing to the state of Tigray?
Yeah, flowing. Of course, that I didn't have the chance to go to Tigray, so I didn't have the chance to actually see if they enter to Tigray, but I had the chance to speak to the drivers, which are all from Tigray. I mean, most of the drivers are from Tigray, and they told me that they are going there every day with no problems. So, I mean, according to what they told me, there are no problems at all.
This is your first your first visit to Ethiopia, right? Yeah. So let me ask you this question, Francesca, as well. What's the overall situation in Ethiopia from what you saw, from what you observed? How do you describe the situation here in Ethiopia?
Well, of course, I think that it's a big country with a lot of potential, and I think that as long as it is able to solve the internal problems, I mean, of course, there are the issues with Sudan and Egypt, but as long as the country is able also to go on the road of peace, especially thanks also to the agreement that have been made with these other countries that are around Ethiopia. I think that Ethiopia has a lot of potential, I mean. And then also I've been amazed talking about Addis Ababa, about all the contrasts that there are in these cities, of course, because there are some areas that, of course, they are, what can you say? I mean, people that is in need, so there are many problems, but then there are also these other areas that are really amazing, like they are looking to the future, especially the Friendship Park, or I saw the...
You had a chance to pay a visit to Addis?
Yes, okay. And then also the new library, amazing projects, and so I was really amazed by all the effort that have been put in these beautiful operas here.
Francesca, thank you so much for your ideas. And finally, let me ask you this question. What's your message to the international community regarding Ethiopia, which is found in the midst of misinformation, as you have been, covering in all your stories? So, what message can you convey to the global community?
Well, of course, I think that for the country is important the stability. So everything that can help the stability and the peace of the country is important. And I hope that everybody, everybody in his own role, in his own work, can just try to follow the truth and the intellectual correctness. I don't know how to define it in another way. So as long as everybody can try to follow this road, I think that maybe good things can come.
Yeah, absolutely. Francesca, thank you so much for your ideas, and I wish you a safe trip back home.
Thank you. Thank you so much for meeting me. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Well, dear viewers, with that, we come to the end of today's program. Thank you as well for having been with us. Until I see you next time with another program, it's goodbye from me.